The Fighting Illini in the Big Ten championship game? My guest today thinks so.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. My name is Jeremy Werner, your host here at Locked On Illini, where I continue to provide you coverage daily. That's right, every single day of the orange and blue, and everything here is absolutely free. The only thing I ask for in return is if you don't mind to take a second to hit that like button on this video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It just helps me grow the channel, the community even more, especially with football season right around the corner. We're going to be producing shows for you each and every day. Some days you're going to get 2 episodes in just a single day. But, as long as the content keeps coming, I'm going to keep producing. And I can do that as long as you guys continue to support the show. For today's episode, for a fun Friday, first we're going to have a special guest who my everydayers in this for Locked On Illini are very well familiar with. He made a couple of Illini predictions in the past, which let's just say didn't exactly go to plan. He has another bold take this year about the Illini. And so I'm going to discuss with him right after this. And then following that, we're going to have a way too early preview of the Purdue Boilermakers with Nick Arvin. The Locked On Boilermakers channel just started on this network. And so we're going to talk a little Purdue football, talk about Barry Odom and what the expectations are with that program. And of course, this is an Illini channel. So we do talk a few seconds about Ryan Walters and what went wrong over the last couple of years with Ryan. But again, first and foremost, make sure you hit the like button on this particular video, and then you're going to see my guest right after this. And welcome back to Locked On Illini. If you're an everydayer of the show, you know that we have plenty of recurring guests that a lot of you asked for me to ask to come back. In this case, no one's really asked for my next guest to come back, but I wanted to bring him on anyways. Kent, Mr. Casual Big Ten, one of the most entertaining Twitter accounts. Kent, thank you for coming back on Locked On.
My favorite part of coming on is just like waiting to hear how you're going to intro me. It never lets me down. I appreciate it, man. Super fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait to talk about football again, man.
Yeah.
Like it's so close. I feel like it's, I feel like I'm going to wake up tomorrow and football is going to be happening. That's how close it is. I can almost touch it.
Well, see, for me, college football season gets triggered by 2 events. First is Big Ten Media Days, and that's when, the unofficial season starts. And number 2 is when Casual Big Ten releases his Big Ten predictions when it comes to standings. Now, if you're not familiar, Kent released these standings predictions last year, and I think it's fair to say that he got a little pushback. Kent, I'm going to give you the floor for a second. Can you remind the folks here what you had Illinois projected as last season?
Yeah, I was way off on Illinois. I'll be honest. I had him at 2-10. Really bad, just really bad. But I would like to defend myself just a little bit. The rest of the conference, I did pretty good on. Yeah. There's always one team that I take a big risk on. And I do have one this year, and it's going the other way for the wins. But I take one big risk on a couple teams or one team particular last year, and I just didn't see it happening. And I was way, way, way off. And I apologize. And I have paid my debts, got my Luke Altmaier jersey, rocked it all last year, every Illinois game after I got it. And, I'm back to make amends this year, I think.
I love it. Yeah, no, I always give Kent a hard time, but halfway through the season, he put his hand up. He's like, yeah, I got this one wrong. And again, he did say he did get a Luke Altmaier jersey, which I can confirm he wears every time Illinois does play. But let's not keep the audience waiting, Kent.
Yeah.
At this point, let's quickly go through your standings from 18 to 1. Don't spend any time talking about each individual team, and then we'll kind of see where you place Illinois, and then kind of talk about that afterwards.
There's only one team I want to mention something extra about, and it's the last place team. It's Maryland. I think that Loxley's going to get fired mid-season this year. That's
Wow.
my big
Bold
prediction.
takes from Kent. Okay.
But they are in last place. They're tied with Purdue. I have Purdue at 17th. And then no surprises here at the bottom. It goes Northwestern 16th, UCLA down at 15th, Wisconsin at 14th, Michigan State at 12 is Nebraska, 11 is Minnesota, 10th is Rutgers. And then I have Indiana. 8th is Iowa. 7th is Washington, and then I have the top 6 is going to be Ohio State and Michigan are kind of tied at 5th. And then I have USC all the way up at 4th. 3rd place, Oregon. And then 2nd place, your Fighting Illini with Penn State in 1st place. No surprise there, I don't think either.
Okay, yeah. Fair to say that you're going to get a little pushback on these standings as well. So, okay, if you have Illinois at number 2, then what's this final record? Last year it was 2-10. This year, what do the Fighting Illini finish, at least in your head?
Man, it's so crazy. I think it's crazy. I have them at 11-1. It's interesting. I have listened to a lot of your shows this year, and when you were at Big Ten Media Days, I noticed that there were a couple of guys that were like kind of shaking around the 11-1 record, and some people were at 10-2. Most at 9-3, like you were talking about when you were there that week. And when I was listening to that, what was that, a week and a half ago or whatever, I was like, who's at 11-1? That's insane. There's no way they're going to be good, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
Then I go through and I literally just like go week by week on the website that I use. It has all the Big Ten games for the week. And I just week by week, who do I think is going to win? Who's at home? Who's coming off a bye? I try to factor in all the things. And I got to 11-1 with Illinois, and it was crazy. I looked back at it, and I was like, man, went back to Illinois' schedule, and I was like, I don't see the second loss. I just don't see it. So, yeah, it might be a little bit bold. I might be, overcorrecting a little bit from last year. We'll see, but strong team. I'm really excited to see what Illinois is going to be this year. And I would be if that was actually how it finished, and it's 12-0 Penn State, which is what I have, and then Illinois at 11-1 in the Big Ten championship game. Oh my gosh, man. I'll take that all day. I would love that game.
It's just surreal because, again, I was there 2 weeks ago. And as you mentioned, you were listening to those episodes. Like I had a hard time believing it then, these guys telling me at 11-1, because usually I'm the optimist when it comes to Illinois football, even compared to my audience. I tend to be a little bit more optimistic, but 11 wins, even 10 wins, like all of a sudden I'm trying to, figure out. It's funny when I look at the schedule, and we'll go through the schedule in a second, because, you talked about how you don't see that second loss. There really does seem to be two camps. One camp saying because they're avoiding Michigan, Ohio State, and Oregon, that the schedule is easier than normal. But then there's another camp, which Jeffrey the Greek from the Eyes of the Big podcast is in, and me and him have been talking offline a lot about it, and I think he's convincing me more and more that this Illinois schedule might be a little tougher now than people are giving it credit for. The difference between last year and this year's schedule is, there's no outside Ohio State, of course, there's no A+ teams on the schedule, but essentially what they've replaced it with is like a group of B+ teams, A graded teams. And it's kind of, where do you rate Illinois at that point? Like, to me, it's like, they are slightly better overall than a Washington and a USC, but you're playing at Washington. And so that's why, to me, a game like that is kind of a flip of the coin. And so I haven't done my game-by-game predictions yet. I think I'm going to save that for the week of the season starting. But, I get what you're saying, but I don't know. So what is it about this Illinois team that you like?
So there's a lot of things that I like about it, but for me, I look at offensive line as where I always start. And when you have, by my count, you guys have 3 returning offensive linemen.
They're all
what's that?
They're all returning, actually.
Okay, I thought the right tackle was a transfer from this year, but I'm mistaken on that. I'm sorry.
That's it.
Okay, so returning offensive lineman, experienced offensive line. That's a reason, actually. I'll mention this just briefly. Why I have Rutgers going a little bit higher than what their win totals at is because they have an experienced, really good offensive line coming back as well. So offensive line, and then the most important position on the field, period, both sides of the ball, you have somebody that's experienced and who is a proven winner in Luke Altmaier. So those are 2 very important positions. And the spot that I start at, is where you can build on offense. And then defensively, you have, I hope I say this right, because I heard Jeffrey mention Jeffrey the Greek. Yakis, is that right?
You
coming
got it
back.
right.
I want to make sure I say that right.
You absolutely did. Good work.
Got him coming back, and then Xavier Scott like in the back end there on defense. I just like what Coach does with this defense. I like the way that he has it set up with, last year I felt like, I don't want to get too deep into the defense, but with the 3 down linemen and then the outside linebackers kind of standing up and almost being defensive linemen, but being able to drop back when they needed to be, it just causes a lot of confusion for college offenses. And especially when you're playing against, like I just said, a ton of guys who are inexperienced at the quarterback position. So, there's just a lot of things I like about this team, but most of all, it is the schedule. I do disagree with it being a little bit tougher. I think that it's the Washington game that is a toss-up, like you said, but I can see you guys winning that game. And then for me, there's a lot that hinges, and I know you've mentioned this before, on that Duke game on the road right off the bat. There's a lot of pressure on that for a week 2 game. So those 2 games, and then obviously the Ohio State game are going to be the tough ones. But after that, it's like almost you can write in wins, I feel like, for the other, 9 games. So, yeah, I just really like this team. I like the schedule. Things are feeling really good in Illini Nation, I feel like, right now.
Yeah, I think 2 of those first 4 games are going to essentially make or break this season. I'm trying to bring more and more attention to this Duke game. I'm going to try to have the host of Locked On Blue Devils on the show at some point in the next couple of weeks because, Duke, I've seen some projections with them as high as second in the ACC, a potential dark horse college football playoff type of team. And the fact that this game is in Durham just makes me a little uneasy. But then, even if you come out of that with a victory 2 weeks later, it's Illinois, Indiana, 2 fan bases that have been going at it back and forth all summer long. It's going to be a game that I think, should Brett, come out of the Duke game with a victory, like both Brett and Kurt Signetti are going to be hyping that game up like crazy. They're going to want maximum exposure when it comes to TV wise. And so you're saying that you think that this Illinois team is going to go into Bloomington and come out with another victory.
Absolutely. I do think that. Like, I feel it like preseason. I feel like when we get to that point, and again, it does go back to what I just said. The only way I can change my mind is if I see things that I don't like in the Duke game.
Sure.
And then I would go, okay, maybe that's going to be a struggle to go into that environment. I don't know if the times for that game have been released, but if it's like a night game, it should be a night game. Mm-hmm. That would be electric, by the way. But that would give me a little bit of pause if I see some things that I don't love in that Duke game. But I'm not anticipating that, though. I think that that's going to be a win. And going into that game with that much confidence, already have had a challenge. Indiana's not going to have one until then. That's their first challenge.
Yep.
So if you already have a game in your back pocket where you're like, we've played against a really good team on the road already. We went on the road and won already. We can do this again. I think it gives your team a lot of confidence going into Bloomington, like you said. All
right, before I let you go, Kent, did you say Ohio State tied for 5th or 6th?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Who do they end up losing to?
Okay, let me click on them real quick. Well, first of all, I know for sure I have them losing to Michigan because I'm not going to pick them beating Michigan until they beat Michigan again.
Fair.
Penn State comes in and beats them, so that's 2. And then I have Texas beating them as well.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So
interesting. All right. Well, Kent, thanks for coming back on Locked On Illini. Hopefully, we're going to see you again, at least occasionally during this season. But let the fine folks here know where they can find your genius work.
I don't know about that. At Casual Big Ten on X.com. Come check it out. I kind of took this summer off a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I got into some other things this summer, but getting back into the swing of things, like I said, can't wait for football. It feels like it's almost here, and should be putting out a lot more content once the season actually does start. So excited to be back.
Again, I will say I don't compliment this person very often, but he is genuinely one of the most entertaining social media accounts that you're going to find. So definitely, when you're done watching this episode, follow Kent on whatever social media you can find. Kent, we'll see you around.
Thank you.
Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the greens, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Again, I've already told you guys, I've got my eyes locked on PCA on the Cubs. I have them at plus 8,000 and plus 5,500 to win the National League MVP. Right now, he's the second favorite, I believe, right behind Shohei Ohtani. So that's going to be something I'm going to be following along all summer long. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. And welcome back to Locked On Illini. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Again, it doesn't cost you guys anything, but it continues to help the show grow. And it shows up in the YouTube algorithm and all that kind of fun stuff. Look, the football season's right around the corner. I really want you to help me in any sort of way you can for me to hit my goal of hitting 4,000 subs by the time we kick off this football season. Speaking of the college football season, I wanted to continue my series of the way too early previews of the Illini football schedule. And for today, I wanted to talk the Purdue Boilermakers. And for that, I'm bringing on Nick Arvin. Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me, Sonny. I'm very excited. We got a lot to talk about here about our Purdue football team. Last year, obviously, we go 1-11. Not a lot of people happy about that, but we're in a new era now. Your guy, Ryan Walters, he's gone now. Praise the Lord. We got Barry Odom, so a lot to be excited about around here.
Okay, you know what? You brought his name up first. So, before we talk about Barry, let's talk about Ryan Walters. Obviously, this is Locked On Illini. Our fan base they know him pretty well. What didn't work out with Walters at Purdue?
Well, is everything an answer? Because I would say that's probably about it. Whenever you go 1-11, that's a stain on your reputation that kind of stays. Not a whole lot went well last year for Ryan Walters. About everybody on the team dipped in production, and then following his firing, pretty much everybody left. We saw a guy, Ryan Brown, who was showed a lot of potential last year against you guys. Took you guys to overtime. He transfers out to UNC. To go play for Bill Belichick. And then he's back now. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but not a whole lot of people wanted to play for Ryan Walters. That whole situation didn't end up well, but we're in a new era now. We don't have to spend every Saturday watching a bad football team behind Ryan Walters. So we're in a good spot now.
Was there added pressure when it comes to like the Purdue, the staff out there, knowing Indiana had the season that they had last year, obviously coming out of nowhere, being one of the best stories in all of college football, you guys being rivals, seeing them, become the Cinderella story, and then Purdue, let's be honest, as you mentioned, 1-11 kind of faltering. Do you think there was a little added pressure to go ahead and make a change right away so that your rivals, who traditionally you're better than, when it comes to football, they don't kind of start running away from you?
So I can see that. I think that Walters would have been gone whether Indiana had the same season or not. But what I do see is a lot of people trying to replicate what Cignetti did at Indiana in the first year. He goes off from JMU. He goes to Indiana and finds instant success, instant college football playoff berth. And I feel like not necessarily to can Walters was that the decision, but I feel like the hiring of Barry Odom really reflects what Indiana tried to do with Cignetti. They bring in a guy from a group of five conference. They bring in Odom from UNLV, finds a lot of success over there, and they expect him to maybe not replicate the success that Cignetti had last year, but to find similar success and build a competitive culture that has been lacking for the past few years for Purdue.
What would you say the temperature is amongst the Purdue fan base when it comes to, first the initial hiring of Barry Odom, and now that you've passed summer camps, essentially football season's right around the corner. What's the energy like?
So I think some Purdue fans are still a little bit scared to jump on the Purdue football bandwagon. Obviously, when you go 1-11 last year, it's hard to find a whole lot of excitement going forward for the fans, for the team in general. But when you see what Barry Odom's done, when you see his ability to rebuild the roster in the way that he's rebuilt this roster, there should be success from the fans. We got Devin Mockbee, a key part of that offense, only 1,200 yards away from being Purdue's all-time leading rusher. And that's something that Barry Odom sees, and that's something that entices him to take this job, because he's built a culture on a hard-nosed running team that survives in the trenches and can create plays in the play action. So I feel like when you factor in Devin Mockbee, one of the only guys that returned from last year's roster, it creates a culture where Barry Odom should be set to succeed and maybe not see the success of a Cignetti last year, but should build a competitive football team. And that's something that a lot of people are excited to see, but still a little bit nervous coming off a 1-11 season last year.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Like you said, a lot of the roster, you're turning over a lot of that roster. But as you mentioned, the team finished 1-11, so that might not exactly be a bad thing. I'm trying to be polite here. You know, I see a lot of the preseason rankings when it comes to the Big Ten Conference, and a lot of them tend to have Purdue at the bottom or very much near the bottom. What would you say the short-term goals are, not just this, let's just say maybe this year and then 5 years from now, when it comes to what the expectations are for Purdue fans?
So what a lot of people don't realize is Purdue's only a few years removed from a Big Ten championship berth. Under Jeff Brom, he elects to go to Louisville after that, but Purdue isn't that far removed from having success, seeing success, and that's something that a lot of fans would like to get back to. Right now, obviously, you can't expect a Big Ten championship berth with how stacked the Big Ten is right now, with how Purdue's rebuilding, but a bowl game in Barry Odom's first year is something that a lot of fans maybe not expect to see, but something that they want to see. It's still hard to get on board after last year, but a bowl game would be a right step in a good direction for Barry Odom into building this team into a competitive football team. Last year, we saw a lot of games get carried away, games that weren't competitive, games that were blowouts. And that's what fans want to avoid this year. We want a competitive football team, a team that stays in games, a team that is maybe not must watch every week, but a team that you want to watch, a team that you want to watch, see win, and see compete.
So what is Purdue football going to look like from here on now? Maybe give us a list of a couple of the notable players. I know most of the nation at this point knows who Mockbee is, but maybe a couple guys on the offensive side. What that offense looks like? What's that offense going to look like? And then maybe we'll switch off to the defensive side. You know, a couple players to keep in mind, and also what that defense is going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So from the offensive side of the ball, Barry Odom has, in the portal, really put a lot of focus on rebuilding the offensive line. Last year, we saw 14 different guys plug into that offensive line throughout the year, and that's something that's unacceptable. You want to have a cohesive offensive line, and that's something that we didn't see under Ryan Walters. So that's something that he's really addressed throughout the offseason. He's pulled in 3 guys from UNLV, guys like Hank Purvis, Mason Vicari, and also a guy named Braden Joyner, a very talented interior guard out of Auburn. So we got some Power 5 talent now at the offensive line. A guy we talked about earlier, Ryan Brown. There's a bit of a quarterback battle going on right now throughout training camp. Ryan Brown goes to North Carolina. He was at Purdue last year and then transfers back after Barry Odom arrives. And also a guy by the name of Malachi Singleton. Some fans may have heard that name before. He led a game-winning drive with Arkansas last year against Tennessee to upset the Volunteers. So those are 2 guys that are battling right now throughout training camp. From the receiver side of the ball, Armand Branch has been a name that we've seen a lot throughout training camp, and a guy, funny enough, Michael Jackson, not the pop singer, but same name, Michael Jackson. He's been making some plays out there at receiver so far in training camp, and that's been something that we've seen a lot of excitement about what this offense might be this year.
All right, Nick, before I let you go, I do like to ask all the other insiders covering other teams what the perception is of Illinois football from the outside. You know, I'm not asking you to name players on the roster, but just, your perception of what Brett Bielema is doing when with the Illinois football program, and what you think of when you hear Illinois.
Yeah, so obviously last year was kind of a breakout year for you guys. A lot of excitement, it seems like, around that program. But I actually wrote an article about you guys not too long ago previewing Purdue's opponents this year, and I put the big storyline around Illinois is kind of a dark horse team this year to really make something happen. A Big Ten championship berth isn't out of the question for you guys. You have the pieces, a lot of returning production for you guys, building upon what was a strong year last year. There's a lot to be excited in Illinois for you guys, for the Illini, and there should be a big season coming for y'all.
We're looking forward to it. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. I did want to let the audience know, obviously, I'm very proud to be a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Nick is the newest family member. He is going to be hosting, it's Locked On Boilermakers?
Yes, sir. Locked On Boilermakers. If you guys, Purdue fans, not Purdue fans, check it out. We're daily, Monday through Friday, and we got the best daily Purdue content for you guys on the internet.
I will say this is probably going to be one of the few cordial conversations Nick and I are going to have moving forward, especially when basketball season starts.
It's going down.
Yeah, we'll have a good time. But until next time, Nick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And welcome back. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video. It looks like we ran a little long today, so I just wanted to make a couple notes before I let you go. Seth Coleman just signed a deal with the Seattle Seahawks. It's always a good thing when Illini players are able to establish themselves in the pro. It's great for the brand, right? Whether it's basketball or football, obviously has gotten more and more players signed into the NFL over the last couple of years. It's Seth Coleman this year. From what I've been reading, Pat Bryant might actually win the starting wide receiver job with Denver Broncos. So, again, it's good for the reputation, and it just shows that Brett Bielema can get these guys ready for the next level. All the more reason for a 17 or 18-year-old to want to commit to the Illini because, Brett's in the room with them, with their parents, telling them, hey, you come to Champaign, we can get you ready for the NFL. Even if you aren't the highest 4-star or a low 5-star, if you're a 3-star, but you have the right traits and you're willing to work hard, in Champaign, Brett can get you to the level that you aspire to. And again, the more orange and blue we see in the NFL, I say the better. Also, on Monday, I'll be airing my episode with Jeremy Werner of the Illini Inquirer. I don't need to tell you guys who he is. Well, we're going to be doing the flag episode, the player flags episode. And that's one of my favorite episodes I do every single year. And what I do with that is I plant a flag on a guy on offense and one guy on defense, basically laying claim to him being my guy. So what I want to do is I want to hear your guys' flag players. You have all weekend. Let me know in the comment section. I might read a couple off, but I will say Monday's episode is definitely one that you're not going to want to miss. It's an exciting time to have Jeremy on the show. It's going to be his debut episode, so make sure you don't miss it, and you won't as long as you hit the like button and you're subscribed to the channel. And of course, look, there's over 300 of us in the Talk Illini Discord. So please join us. Today we're talking about Fletch and Zavonimir's, again, transformation that he's had just over the summer. We're talking about potential guys who we heard might be injured on the Illini football team. Obviously, I haven't confirmed yet. Otherwise, I would tell you guys right now. But again, there's just constant conversation all day, every day when it comes to the Illini. So if you're not in the Discord, the link should be in the description. I highly think you should. Thank you for making Locked On Illini your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you all so much for joining me today. So much content for you coming up next week. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.